live, brother. How you doing, man?
You at halftime are doing yard work.
Yeah.
Me again. This is crazy. 128 points in the last two games. One against Rice. You didn't know if it was for real. Then you come out and you put up 42 points on a conference foe in the first Big 12 game. I'm going to say we have the best offensive mind in all of college football, which is a scary thing in the Big 12, knowing that you do have a bunch of offensive minds here. Your thoughts, man, on the game?
Bro, like I told you, like hashtag 77. Like I felt like that we were going to score 77 points at halftime. I felt like we were going to really, tap the brakes, get guys in the second and third team into the ball game. But how often have you ever had the lead like you did 42-14 in a conference game in the Big 12 in the last 10 years? It doesn't happen. Score 70 points. It doesn't happen since we played Colorado in the
Big 12
championship game going into the USC game in which we won the national championship. So I don't know what to say, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I'm speechless. So let's start negative real quick. I'm going to start negative, and then we'll move in. And I think this is going to be driven by the comments because again, it's hard to kind of go back and look. I'm going to start negative. Let me start here. When's the last time you've seen a third-string quarterback get in the third quarter with about 5 minutes left in the game?
Never.
Crazy. All right. So the only thing I want to take away from this game is Pete Kwiatkowski's going to be pissed. He's pissed now. He's going to be pissed going into tomorrow because I think majority of their yards came on 3 touchdown passes over 40 yards. Something we kind of have done really good over the last couple of games where I think we only gave up one 30-yard pass, one 40-yard pass, and then we let 3 of them get over our heads a day. I think 2 of them, Deshaun Jameson was where he needed to be at on 2 of those plays. I don't want to take that away from him. He pushed the guy out of bounds, comes back in, dude throws it up, comes down, and they score. The second one, he was in the right place. Dude put it on a dime. But I think that's taken away right now. That's probably the only negative from the game. Coming into the game, everybody was talking about the offensive line. The offensive line, I don't want to hear anything about the offensive line in any show that we do this week at all, 0, because those guys showed up and they've ran for damn near 700 yards in 2 games. I think we averaged 350 yards a game over the last 2 games rushing, which is ridiculous. And the pass protection was on point today, no doubt.
It was ridiculous, dude. Like you talked about. So they got Camden Geiger caught a ball for 75 yards and a touchdown. Fuwanji caught a 69-yard touchdown for them, and then Miles Price for 40 yards. Like you said, that I'm going to do public math, but to me, that's about 185 yards to the total offense. But again, it was in garbage time. So our defense really stood out. Like you said, Pete Kwiatkowski's going to be really pissed off about those 3, big plays that they gave up. But at the same time, we played complimentary football for the first half. You don't get to 42-14 without playing complimentary football. And I really appreciate the fact that we really stepped on the gas. And Casey Thompson, again, 18 for 23 for 303, 5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and then a rushing touchdown for a total of 6. I just don't know where to go from here because like I told you at halftime, I'm not so sure that we've really ventured into our playbook that much at this point. But really appreciative of their effort today. Really appreciative of a 70-35 victory in conference because that stuff don't happen very often, to be honest with you.
I think the biggest thing is taken away from you had Xavier Worthy show up last week, and then everybody was kind of kneel, and you still put up a whole bunch of points. I think, again, coming away from this game, you wanted to see more Xavier Worthy, which we've seen, and we've seen he's lightning in a bottle, and that's why Steve Sarkisian tried to get him to Alabama, decided to go to Michigan, comes to Texas. That's the reason they wanted him because they see him as the same fit as probably the 𝗟𝗓𝗏 𝗦𝗧s, the Devontae Smiths, and all these other guys that played at Alabama. But it was nice to see Jordan Whittington come back. Joshua Moore, didn't see as much from the tight ends today, other than that little flare out pass that they do for about 4 or 5 yards on first down to make it a manageable second down. But I want to talk about how easy Casey makes it look, regardless of down and distance. Because it didn't matter if it's 1st and 20 or 2nd and 18. You always felt like they were gonna pick up what they needed to, to move the chain and then be able to get down and be able to make it
that's what
an easy either third down or fourth down.
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about at halftime. He always makes the plays to move the ball down the field and score points. It's like, I don't even know if Colt had this. Like, I got to go back and study, but in a freshman, sophomore, or / first two starts, or 3 or 4 games, I don't know if any quarterback has been able to produce as much as Casey Thompson. Like you said, he gets in 1st and 10, they get a holding call, and it's 2nd and 20, and they get a 2-yard rush, and now it's 2nd and 18. He finds a way to move the chains. Whether he gets a 5-yard pass here or a handoff to Bijan Robinson, it's a combination of quarterback and offensive coordinator that allows them to move the football down the field consistently to score points. And it's easy. To me, it looks really, really easy for them. It's
like, what is it? And again, I think it was 16 out of the 19 drives.
16 out of 20, yeah.
16 out of 20 drives. And then the third down, 4th down conversions is crazy. Yeah, I think you only missed 3 of them the entire game. So it's just weird doing a show back to back, going from Rice that you dismantled them 44-0 and turn around and you score 70 in your first Big 12 game, which was 1 point shy of the highest points, like we said, highest point total we've ever scored in the Big 12, and this is Steve Sarkisian's first game. So we're probably going to nitpick this week. I'm probably more the defense because I don't really have anything to say about the offense. It's really just it's there, and it's open, and the last 2 teams couldn't stop it.
I keep saying the word easy. It's not easy. People have to understand their assignments and block their guys. And guys got to run their routes, and guys got to find the hold and do that. But it looks really, really simplistic. Like, I feel like the offensive coordinator has them in the right spots. I feel like they're blocking the right guys. They're sustaining their blocks downfield to the 2nd and 3rd level, and ultimately leads to 70 freaking points in a conference game. Like, I told Clint yesterday that I kind of want to back off my original 38-17 prediction because I felt like we were 3 touchdowns better than Texas Tech. Today we were 5 touchdowns better than Texas Tech. So it's crazy. We continue to grow. We continue to get better. But like you said, you got to shore up the defensive secondary. You can't give up big plays like we did today of 75, 69, and 40 yards. But at the same time, you could see the consistency and the growth of this football team.
Retweet my 2 cents here. It's hard to stay on the gas, and I want you to bring up the comment that you talked to me about. I think it was in the 3rd quarter when we were talking. It's hard to stay on the gas when you're sitting on 70 points. I'm talking about the defense letting up a little. And you had a really good comment about what you told me, that the defense is going to consistently have to go out there and still make those stops regardless of how many touchdowns you're scored. I mean,
it's hard not to look at the scoreboard. It's hard not to look at the scoreboard. But at the same time, you have to beat your man. You have to look at it as a one-on-one matchup. Like the first level defeating the offensive line, the linebackers covering the running backs and or the tight ends, and the secondary covering the receivers. Like, you have to look at it once you get up by, like the margin that we got up by 35 points at the time of the game. You have to look at it as a man-on-man matchup and beating the guy each play, each drive, each series, and then continue to grow from it, because you can't slack off, because you've got Texas Tech this weekend, but then you got TCU, which we understand at this point against SMU is not playing very well. And then you got Oklahoma, which is the number 4 team in the nation. So you can't continue to slack off and take plays for granted. Like, you have to dig every play like it's 0-0 in my mind.
And I was looking for the comment on here about not hitting the big play, and it's crazy to think that I want to say Xavier Worthy's probably passed today, which just was across the middle. He kind of took it upon himself to take it to the house for 62 yards. That you haven't hit a shot over the top yet. All this is like underneath or intermediate stuff, or the running backs just gouging the defense.
but Steve's talked about that. He's talked about, taking the football and not scoring. Like, we want to score on every play. Like, I'm the guy who wants to take the ball down the very first play of the possession and go down and score and put pressure on the defense. But Steve understands the complexity of, like, driving for 8, 10, 12 plays and putting that onus on the defense and wearing them out. And that's exactly what they did today. But
yeah, Cody, I think what I'm talking about is those deep shots that we just barely keep missing, where we get guys that are wide open. I think more Worthy's was him hitting him in space and then him breaking the tackle and then just taking it to the house. I'm talking about these ones where we're play action passing and hitting them over the top. Oh, and I think he did hit him in the end zone one time. Hit him in the end zone for one time. I'm not sure how long that pass was when he tossed that ball to Worthy on the outside there. Again, there was a lot of scoring going on today. Lots of scoring. It's going to be fun to go back and watch this game unfold again. It's just
it's hard to do it post game 15 minutes after.
It's crazy to think where we were at with Arkansas to where we are 2 weeks later, how this coaching staff has been able to adjust on the offensive side of the ball, where we look really, really flat against an Arkansas team who's currently is giving. I can tell you, I'm watching it here on a little screen here. Calzada all they want. I can tell you that they got this joker running for his life back there. So a good Arkansas win today. Again, but being able to go in over the last 2 weeks, or really the last 2 weeks, and be able to sure up what was been broke, and that was the offensive line. And we've always gone back after the game and looked at the film, and the offensive line at points didn't look as bad as what we thought it did, or scored as bad as what it did. It did according to Pro Football Focus. But again, today they're maulers, man. They're maulers, and they did really good.
You want to pull up another comment?
Yeah, we can.
I had something, but I lost it.
It's okay. Hell, I have lots of something. It's one of these things. I don't want to get too far into TCU, but this is one of those 24-hour games, man, where you score 70 points on a Big 12 opponent, but then you got to erase it from your mind and be prepared to move on to TCU that's had our number over the last couple of days. So I don't want to start the hype train. Obviously, you're seeing some good shit, but at the same time, I don't want to get too far down the hype train. I hope they come back with the same intent they came with the last 2 weeks he's talking about. Come back to work knowing that you haven't done very well against TCU, and that's that one opponent that you need to go punch in the mouth next Saturday.
Yeah, and I think that's what Tom Luginbill, that's the point I want to make, is Tom Luginbill came on the Longhorn Network prior to the pregame, and he was like, this is the best coaching staff when you're talking on the offensive side of the football to understand their talent and to game plan against their deficiencies. When he's talking about Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood, and you saw that in action today. Like, they understand what they're good at. They understand what they're not good at, and they're going to game plan towards getting to 70 points versus a conference opponent. So, like you said, we got to go back and watch the film, but Bijan 18 for 137, an average of 7.6. Roschon 13 for 64 with 2 touchdowns. Like, the weapons are there. They're going to keep game planning against their weapons. Like you said, Worthy 5 for 100, and I asked Jordan Whittington to come back in the fold, 5 for 93. So you're kind of getting to see, like you talked about, Josh Moore hasn't really solidified himself. You hadn't seen Troy Amir at this point. The tight ends haven't really solidified themselves, but at this point, you got 18 catches for 303 yards and 5 touchdowns. So excited to see the growth in this football team and continue to see it grow going forward.
So we got Sports Talk Center on Twitter here. Is there a single defensive coordinator in the country as creative as PK? Today says no about those guys lined up behind each other and then coming out. So again, I don't think you've seen everything that you're going to see from PK from a defensive standpoint either. I think when you go in a game and you get up against somebody, was it 42-14 in the second quarter? There are probably a lot of things that you're not going to show your hand on unless you have to show them when it comes game time and maybe closer games. So I think there's probably going to be some other schemes that you see PK come up with. I think the biggest thing is just not coming out flat or going into the third quarter flat, because I think that's where we've given up most of our points over the last couple of games. It's in the third quarter. I think don't come out flat on the defensive side of the ball, especially if your offense continues to score the way they are. Just don't want to see you get beat over. I don't mind the bend don't break stuff, but what I don't like to see is getting beat over the top, 3 or 4 times. That probably makes me angrier than anything else, because I think me and you are both defensive guys. And just to see that you got beat the way you did, or gave up, I think 530 yards, if I'm not mistaken, in offense. But again, when your offense is out there scoring in like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you're putting your defense back out on the field and back on the field and back on the field, that's why I think you're going to see a lot of guys come in and out, rotate in and out on that defense side of the ball, because it's going to be hard, man. You're talking about being gassed because your offense is scoring too fast.
Like, to be in the prevent defense in the last half of the second quarter is a good thing. Like, you are understanding that you have a 28-point lead in the last half of the second quarter, but at the same time, like you said, you can't be indiscriminate. Like, you have to cover your guys. You have to understand your assignments. You can't get beat over the top. Like, you have to play like it's 0-0 on the defensive side of football, which is what me and you want them to do each and every possession, each and every down of a football game. But at the same time, when you're looking at the scoreboard and it's 70 to 28, you kind of I got to think that you kind of get a little bit lax, which is not what we need. We need to continue to grow, because again, you got Oklahoma on the schedule a little bit later, Iowa State on the schedule a little bit later, and you got to prepare for those teams.
David Williams said that this game Texas really needed. The results of the game were more important than the results of any of the previous 3 games. However, Texas needs to manifest these results with a win over TCU. I think, again, get the ball rolling. To me, I was telling Jeremy, you get the ball rolling, and then all of a sudden that ball doesn't stop, and then you find yourself at the end of the year better than what you thought you were going to be. But I think it's just trying to get this ball rolling, and again, it comes out to. I think the best thing about Steve Sarkisian, he took one thing from Nick Saban, and is you're always going to be judged on where you're currently at, not what you did. And I think that's important. It's not okay, we put up 70 points against Texas Tech. Y'all need to wipe that. We set a new standard. I think he said, hey, you set a new standard every week. You set a new standard, and then you continuously get better than the standard you set each and every week. And I think that's where he's got these guys playing. Let's erase this from our mind tomorrow. Let's enjoy a 70-point scoring outburst and enjoy it over the next 24 hours, and then come back. They don't practice on Sunday. They don't do anything on Sunday, which is cool. And then on Monday, come back to work, and you'll work Monday through Wednesday, and then prepare yourself for Thursday, Friday for getting on that bus or plane, whatever you're doing to get to Fort Worth, and then be prepared to play TCU at 11 o'clock next Saturday. So I think it's just really about getting that ball rolling.
And David understands, being an athlete like he was, that in a film session, like, coach is clicking back, right? Great block, Lockerbie. All right, you felt us on this play. Like, for them, every play needs to be dissected individually. And you've got to get better off each play. Not the result of 70 to 35. Not the result of we got this many possessions that were 3 and out. We had this many possessions that scored touchdowns. We had this many pancake blocks. We had this many times we got open in case he hit us for a touchdown. It was looking at each play and how I can get better. And that's what I think with this experienced coaching staff, they have the ability to do. Is, hey, yeah, we went out and scored 70 points tonight. We gave up 35. But let's dissect your ability and your play on each and every down. And the players understand at this point, I feel like, that they have to grow. Yeah, you made a good block there, Marcus Washington, but guess what? You didn't run the right route. Next play. I'm not picking on Marcus. I'm just saying, like, for an individual, they dissect that stuff and understand that they got to get better each and every play versus, a 70-35 result, lay your head on the pillow, and that guess what? Next week you're lining up against TCU.
I think the all gas no brakes mantra is real. I think I was telling Jeremy, I think if you would have went up 42-14 at half over the last 3 seasons, there's a chance it's probably going to be 42-28 going into the fourth quarter. So continuously putting your foot on the gas, saying, hey, we're going to score until you can't stop us anymore, is what the Texas football fans need now. because it actually we got to get out of that mindset that we're not going to slow down, because that's where we've been for the last couple of years. And I think that all gas is, hey, these defenses are going to have to stop us. Until they can stop us, we're going to continue to put our foot on the gas. We're going to continue to score. So they're either going to have to score and keep up, or we're going to beat you, by a wide margin. But I think because of what we've dealt with for fans over the last couple of years, watching these close games, it's hard to see us, beat somebody by 35 points and scoring 70 points.
It reminds me of the BCS era when you were trying to get that point differential because you were talking to the computers. Like you want to put out a good product, and to me, it's setting a statement. Why? Because Denver Harris was there today. Harold Perkins was there today. Like, you have to show these kids that you are truly all gas, no brakes. They have an opportunity to come to a program where you're not going to care about the opponent. You're going to care about your individual responsibilities, your individual, position, and ultimately find yourself in a college football playoff or compete for a Big 12 or SEC championship. And I think that's why it's important to blow teams out. And that's why it's, it's kind of the one way when you give 21 points in the second half. But at the same time, those kids were there to see that today. And I think it's a point or a position that allows you to go forward in your, like Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy scores 3 touchdowns. He's on the season probably got 6 or 7. And you got a guy like Evan Stewart from Frisco who's looking at him performing and can find himself in Steve Sarkisian's offense. It's send that message to those guys.
Punt returns for Deshaun Jameson, and how many punt blocks for Keelan Robinson this year? Because Jameson's played 3 games. He's played 3 games and 2, and he's already punt return, and then got called back for a flag. Another one where he stepped out of bounds barely, and then you had Keelan Robinson that's blocked 2 punts in 2 games. I don't remember the last time we seen I don't remember the last time I seen somebody get off as fast as they do to punt a block so easily.
Yeah, but that's Jeff Banks, dude. Like, he schemes that stuff. Like, the last time he blocked the punt, he was on the left side. This time he blocked the punt, he was on the right side. That's Jeff Banks figuring out who the weak link is on the punt team and going after him.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
It's so good. And that's what we need to understand is this coaching staff, aside from the Arkansas loss, and I think it was I would never say that it was a good thing for a Texas team to lose in order to help them or set them up for success. But I probably think it's probably the best thing that ever happened to them, because you find a new quarterback, or the quarterback that most folks thought should have been starting. And now you've watched him solidify this offense. You've watched the defense kind of play complementary football in times when they're not playing prevent in the second half. And it's led you to a 35-point victory in conference, a 58-point victory out of conference over the last 2 weeks. So, like I said, a loss is never a good thing when you're talking about the University of Texas. But at the same time, I think it was a growth. I think it was one of those humbling experiences that they thought, after the game, that we can't roll our helmet on the field and expect to win football games. And they played just like that ever since.
So we do a Inside the Numbers podcast on Tuesdays every week. It's Tuesdays, right? Tuesdays or Wednesdays? Tuesdays.
We're going to move it to Tuesdays.
And we're also going to move our pregame to Wednesday.
To Wednesdays,
yeah. So Tuesdays we do it Inside the Numbers. It's going to be fun to look at Inside the Numbers this week. Because we kind of go into the stats with Pro Football Focus on our podcast. You can find that available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. We just did one this week. I think that if that stuff never gets old, the stat stuff never gets old. So you can actually go back and listen to the one we did this week. All you got to do is type in Texas Football Talk in any podcast platform that you use. But that one's going to be fun this week, because I think we're going to open it up on the offense. I think the offense is probably what we're going to talk about on Tuesday this week. I'm going to pick probably 5 offensive categories, and then we'll kind of shoot through those because I think we're probably going to see some really good numbers come out of these last 2 games combined to see where we probably should move going into this TCU. So,
yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out if we got 2 1,000-yard rushers between Bijan and Roschon. That's the numbers I'm looking at right now. Because 299 plus 137 equals about almost 450 yards.
Yep.
And I go back and look at Roschon's numbers. I think Texas, for the first time in a long time, may have the ability to get two 1,000-yard rushers. You know, Casey got a late start, but again, in his second appearance, 303 yards, 18 for 23 with 5 touchdowns. Like every time his team takes the ball, whether it's 25-35 on the plus side of the football field, they find a way to score points. And so kid could be more happier for this kid who's waited his turn and continues to churn out points for this football team. And I think when they go down and score, I think it adds more fire to the defense. We played hell of a game in the first half as far as complimentary football, 42-14. But then you're going to see reserves come in. You're going to see, like you said, when's the last time you've seen a third string quarterback come out at the beginning of the fourth quarter? Has been a long time, man. I can't remember in my time. You know, you always went from Vince to Chance or from Chris Sims to Major to Chris Sims, but never a time when I felt like we got into our third guy that late in the ball game. Maybe Matt Norgren against Colorado, 70-3, but didn't happen very often. I tell you that.
So we'll do about 5 more minutes of rat poison. People were talking about rat poison on here. Again, I think that's a real thing. But I think that Steve Sarkisian's had an opportunity to a lot of these guys, man, to play or had teams that went to the college football playoff and played for national championships. So they can bring them back in to where they are or where they need to be at week to week to week, just letting them know, hey, because they've dealt with it week after week after week after week after week. And I think Steve Sarkisian's kind of, seeing how Saban's handled, the pressure of having to get a team up each and every week after win after win after win after win. So I think we're really, really in a good place. But there is going to be a lot of rat poison out there, man. Anytime you put 70 points on a conference opponent, it's going to be out there. I think that he's got to get these guys to understand that it's one game, and this one game is going to lead to the next game, but you're going to have to get up for every game in Big 12. But after what I've seen over the last couple of games, as long as we can outscore our opponents and PK can bring that defense back in, which I'm telling you, he's gonna let their ass have it tomorrow about they help finish the game. I think the sky's the limit for this team. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think they've already dealt with rat poison this year. Like they started the season against a ranked opponent, beat that team, walked into Arkansas as the number 15 team in the country, and they got their ass beat. So I think they've dealt with rat poison once before. And so you're like I said, you're trying to get better play to play, series to series and quarter to quarter, game to game. And hopefully they learn their lesson against Arkansas. Not that we're a better football team than Arkansas. I'm interested to go watch this game against Texas A&M now to see how they're performing. But at the same time, like I don't think rat poison is going to sneak up on this team again because they've consistently lost to TCU. They got to play the number 4 team in the country in Dallas. Like they don't have that ability in the next 2 games to buy into their own hype and take teams for granted, in my opinion.
Again, David Williams, Texas has superior athletes over most of the teams they play. Texas special teams needs to be an influencer in each game. Punt return, kick return, punt, and field goal block. Teams should dominate. We haven't had to kick a field goal, and we have not had to we hadn't had to punt in the last 2 games. But the punt team, punt return has showed up in our punt block has definitely showed up. So, but I think that's a true tale. And then if you get all 3 sides of the ball playing well together, offense, defense, and special teams, you can really this team could really take off, man, and have a special year. Because again, you got coaches that know how to use these athletes that we've had for a long, long time against some of the other non-athletic schools that we go against. And I think that's what we haven't had. Bijan didn't play until had very little carries until the 7th or 8th game last year. Bijan could have been doing the same thing he's doing last year, but we just didn't use our athletes. And I think it's been like that year after year after year.
And I think more than that, it's understanding your deficiencies and scheming around those things too. like understanding that what you don't do well and trying to find those assets that you do, and then going for that kind of stuff, but in which they've consistently shown. And Tom Luginbill talked about it, like I said, pregame, and I really respect him because he's been in the recruiting game for a long, long time and understands what athletes are able to do, and these guys are taking advantage of it.
Speaking of, we had a lot of recruits there today, a couple of 5-stars, and Denver Harris and Harold Perkins that seen us today. That probably should be licking their chops. You always want to show out when you have recruits in the stadiums. But yeah, definitely excited to go watch this Texas A&M game, or Arkansas A&M game. Definitely excited about the Texas A&M game moving forward into the SEC as well on Thanksgiving Day. Hopefully that's when they play it. But definitely excited. We could probably go on forever on this win today. I may talk to Jeremy after this. We may do a Sunday scatter shoot tomorrow afternoon because we haven't done one of those in a while. And I think it'd be pretty cool if we do a Sunday scatter shoot, just kind of get up there and answer questions about recruiting and so on and so forth. There's 122 people currently watching that I see, only 39 likes. So please hit that like button. We'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, and then hit that notification bell. So when we put out content, our content really at this particular point going forward, again, we do have a podcast that we put out. It's just, voice only. So if you want to get in the car and listen to us talk, we'll be doing the Inside the Numbers Tuesday. And then we're going to do our pregame starting on Wednesday moving forward. There's a lot of, football that's happening on Thursday. High school football teams are playing on Thursday. On Friday, me and Jeremy go to high school football games. So we think Wednesday would probably be the best day to do that. But then we may go back to doing a Sunday scatter shoot, maybe get on here for about 45 minutes to an hour on a Sunday evening if people have time, and kind of just, just talk ball a little bit and how we're going to move together, move forward as a team and in recruiting as well.
Yeah, it'd be great to do a Sunday scatter shoot because it's kind of digesting the day before, looking at the college football landscape, looking at, who lost, who won, and then looking forward to the next football game next Saturday. But like I said, I love stress-free Saturdays, and this was one of those, like you said, haven't had 2 back-to-back in a long, long time, but really appreciate the team coming out and playing hard, for 60 minutes consistently, and let's get it.
Hey, they just hit an 85-yard touchdown pass against A&M. 10 to nothing. Saw that. 10 to nothing. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna get off here, y'all. And go. I'm gonna go enjoy this game, and then I'm gonna watch that Oklahoma-West Virginia game later tonight. Those are probably two games I'm gonna watch, and then we'll kind of go from there, man. So, really, really good victory today. Anytime you put 70 on an opponent in Big 12 play is big time. You can follow us on Facebook at Texas Football Talk. You can find us on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. You can hit us up on Twitter at TX Football Talk, where we're usually there a lot of the times. Again, we are part of the Pigskin Podcast Network, which is presented by DraftKings as well. So if you go to DraftKings and you type in promo code TPPN, there will be some special, promotions, a special promotion there. So we appreciate y'all listening as always. I'm going to go watch Arky kick the shit out of A&M, and y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all weekend. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.